And I've had customers, now that you mentioned the club, that have actually tried the salsa when they're drinking, and so their sober self wouldn't do that. And so I had one customer tell me like, "Man, that thing sobered me up so quick." Well, if that works for you,
There you go.
good for you.
That's how we make the streets safer here in El Paso is Salsas Guti before
That's
people
right.
get on the roads. Today's guest is a homegrown entrepreneur turning flavor into legacy. Ismael Gutierrez is the creator of Salsas Guti, an El Paso-based salsa brand rooted in regional ingredients, culture, and community. What started as a passion for crafting bold, authentic flavors has grown into a brand that represents more than just food. It tells a story of identity, heritage, and entrepreneurship in the borderland. In this episode, we dive into the journey of building something from the ground up, how creativity shows up in unexpected places like the kitchen, and what it really takes to balance ambition with everyday life. From honoring cultural roots to navigating realities of running a business, Ish shares what it means to build with purpose. I'm your host, Charvon Hales, and this is Light, Life, and Limitations, a podcast where creativity meets reality.
When the world feels out of frame, every thought, every fear, every revelation, I find my way through the quiet flame, lighting life and all the limitations.
Welcome, Ish.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So how you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I am wonderful.
Enjoying the weather
on this lovely Monday. Well, today is Tuesday. Yeah. See, it's already.
Today's Tuesday.
I told you it's been a month and a week already.
I hear you. I know what you mean.
Yeah, and we'll get into that conversation about the woes of entrepreneurship and trying to balance that with real life, right? So just a real quick background on how I know Ish. Instagram, how I think I know most of the people that I've met in El Paso, and just from chatting on Instagram about my allergy to peppers and how I can't try any of the salsas. So that kind of led to me reaching out to you to join the podcast and really talk about entrepreneurship. I saw you on Bro Monroe show. And I really liked your philosophy about how you want your brand to really be a representation of El Paso and be local, not like scaling, beyond where it's no longer has that kind of like local feel. So, tell us a little bit about yourself and about Salsas Guti.
So, yeah, definitely. So a little bit background about myself. I was born and raised in the Sun City, background, economics, political science. I work in education. And about 2 years ago, I started making this stream a reality because I'm passionate about making salsas, and what better way to make them. You create memories, you create that experience. And I've capitalized on being locally owned. People want the story behind the brand, the concept, and so that's where it was born, really.
So like, how did you get into making salsa though? Is that just kind of was it a hobby and then you turned it into a business?
Right. Yeah. So I really love hot foods, spicy foods. As a kid, I'd always have, hot sauces, right? From all over, obviously have Hispanic roots. So, heavily influenced from there. And then, I love salsa. Who doesn't like chips and salsa? And so I started making some, and they were really good. And, just for my own consumption. And so that's where it grew from there. A buddy of mine was like, just bottle it up and start from there. And so I would have never guessed that it would have grown to this enterprise.
So how did your growth kind of happen? Was it just kind of organic, like word of mouth? Were you
so I had a vision that El Paso needed a local brand, and so you get to travel the world, really. You get to experience different cuisines, different spices, and so forth. And so you travel with certain parts of Mexico. There's certain salsas that are only found in regional parks. And so that's really where it came from. And I could talk about what we offer. So
Yeah, so let's talk about some of, unfortunately, this is a virtual interview, so, you can't bring samples like you did for Bro Monroe show, but let's talk about some of
yeah.
the flavors that you have, and because I know you also do
So
quesos as well.
Yeah, exactly. I have all types of salsas. You want to have your traditional, the red and the green. So I offer, I mean, anything that the customer wants, he'll get. But I do have like the chile de árbol, which is traditionally a red sauce. And I have a salsa roja, I have a salsa botanera, and those are my typical red salsas. The verdes, I have a bestseller salsa verde, which has, among other things, it's got the árbol, habanero, jalapeño, and serrano. And so, then I have a salsa verde, jalapeño serrano, which is like a green salsa. Then I have my own take on like a salsa tatemada. It's an orangey habanero árbol salsa. Pretty good. It's like a smoky flavor. I have a salsa ranchera. I have a pico de gallo. My recipe has more serranos and a smidgen of habaneros. So it's got a kick to it, but the habanero doesn't overpower it. And I have the quesos, which all of these have, been successful. I have my chile con queso lumbre, which translates to fire, which is one of the hottest. And I get it from the chili capital of the world in Hatch, New Mexico. And I've hand selected my producer. And so that's where I get it. I make a Velveeta nacho cheese Hatch chili. And again, I offer mild, hot, and really hot lumbre. And then recently we came up with an idea of making a queso blanco using Hatch chili. And so that one was really successful for the Super Bowl.
Nice.
And yeah, so those are the ones that we really do offer. But again, we offer everything. There's I made a delivery not too long ago, salsa macha, which is a oily based salsa, and it's primarily used on what is it called? So there's pozole, and so that one's just árbol and chile ancho, and we pride ourselves in making everything fresh, and so we don't have conservatives or preservatives rather. But the method in which we make the salsas lead up to the conversation process. So there's science behind it.
So yeah, speaking of the science, because you just mentioned a whole lot of flavors, right? So in your background is like you didn't go to culinary school, right? So
I had no background in culinary school, but I really do like making. I like cooking, and so everything adds to the flavor. And so that's kind of like the conundrum that we have. We solved it by, hand selecting certain peppers and all the way to the ingredients. I mean, it's down to a science on the metrics as how much go in a batch of salsa.
So are you working with like traditional recipes or these original recipes or like
so
a lot of
they're
research
originally
into, like the peppers and like the science of it.
Right. So it's an original, the recipes are original from Mexico. But of course, Salsas Guti just adds their own spin on it. Kind of like my grandmother used to cook for my aunts and uncles in Mexico. And she, didn't have like, metric systems to measure how many tablespoons of X variable goes in there. And so that's kind of where we were at. But yeah.
So what were some of like the biggest challenges you experienced like in the beginning of developing Salsas Guti?
If you don't believe in yourself, you'll never achieve anything. And so it was that self-doubt, because again, my background's in business, and that's where that's kind of where I was weak on, is not believing that I could potentially offer something that is popular year round. And so I'm glad to talk to you about the economics behind the business of salsa. So,
and what was something about entrepreneur, because you work in education, right? So prior to Salsas Guti, had you ever
correct.
done anything in regards to entrepreneurship, or is this your first venture into being a business owner?
Right. So I scaled at one point on eBay. I was a top-rated seller, and I was very successful at that. It was during COVID, and so got my feet really wet. I had contacts here and there, and I would buy a lot of things from Amazon. I had a business account with them, but mostly local stores that sold in bulk. That's where my experience and my came from, passion, really.
Okay. So with this venture, because it's a little bit different, being kind of a reseller versus having your own original brand. Was there something that was like new to you along the way that was kind of a surprise?
I guess the way that people pack things, and the way you go to these big companies and you buy all these salsas that have all these preservatives in them. So learning that, where as opposed to being locally owned and sealing it, the bottles are hermetically sealed. And so all of that adds to the freshness. It adds to the shell life of the salsa itself. You have, things like vinegar or lime or lemon, and that also adds to the acidity in tomatoes the longer they heat, the jalapenos, depending on which peppers you use. But we have extreme temperatures when we're making it, so that also reduces the growth of all these harmful bacterias and so forth. So, yeah.
So a lot of research went into this at the beginning, it seems like.
Yeah, definitely. There's always, you could always learn more about, salsa making just by operations and so forth.
So people don't often associate creativity with food, right? So how does creativity show up in what you do as far as your salsas? Because I saw you had posted a story, you were doing like a pineapple salsa. So how do these ideas come to you?
So there's some salsas that are sweeter than others. So you want to balance those two things out, because at the end of the day, the taste is what matters. And so, again, going back to the mission purpose of the salsas, I wanted to make something unique to Salsas Guti, offer something that is tasty, that is affordable, and creativity plays such a significant role in the salsa making process. I mean, you could buy, XY brand, and you could taste, there's certain things that still are lacking. And so that homemade salsa is what I'm capitalizing on. It does taste different.
How do you come up with, when you come up with a new flavor, do you test it out with your family and stuff first, or do you just go with your own instincts on it?
So, I call it my laboratory. It has to go through several stages until I actually decide to add it to the menu or offer it to the customers. And, once Salsas Guti seal of approval, gets the stamp, so to speak, I do have other people that try it, but that's usually how it works.
Okay.
I think that I also just add on successful products that we have, and we improve on them, and that's really what we believe in.
Where do you normally get your inspiration for coming up with new flavors? Is it by request? Do you have people that say, "Oh, can you make like a mango salsa?" Like, do you take that in consideration?
Right. Yeah. So my biggest thing is you want to always give your customer what he wants. And I firmly believe that I will go to extreme lengths to satisfy a customer, if that makes sense. I'll ask, I'll be asked like, hey, can you make this specific salsa? And I said, well, let me research it. Let me see if I could tweak it and then finally give it my own taste. And that's usually how it works.
Yeah, because I need a custom salsa for my
Yeah.
allergies because I really want to try something, but
And do you remember?
yeah,
Yeah. Do you remember what I suggested? So
shishito, you said.
the ingredient, exactly, the ingredient in these peppers, they contain capsaicin,
Hmm.
and that's got good benefits to it.
Hmm.
But at the same time, if you have gastro issues, then that's probably not the best thing to do.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, the shishito peppers is something that you could go even if you have food allergies. But there's one thing that I keep under like a safe and vault is the recipes that we make,
Yeah.
because eventually we're I have friends in high places and they want to scale the business, but at the same time I still firmly believe in this city, and
Hmm.
so I want virtually everyone in the city to try it.
So right now, as far as like access, it's really just through direct orders to you, right? Do you have any type of
Correct.
partnerships with any restaurants or anything?
I have friends that have restaurants, but no partnership as of yet.
Okay.
But they've been to. I mean, I get invited to go have them at the farmers markets, and I've had them in Santa Fe. I've had them, and I've shipped them to Dallas, but it costs a lot.
Hmm.
And so, these extreme temperatures we were talking about, the mason jar, once it's sealed, I tell customers you have to shake it thoroughly,
Hmm.
and you have to keep it in a cold place because during the process you kill most of the bacteria, and then in cold temperatures bacteria also, certain bacteria, most of the bacteria can't really reproduce.
Hmm.
And so yeah, that's all part of it.
So with regard to like keeping it local, right? And you just say, you believe in El
Mhm.
Paso. How has your roots in El Paso and the culture of El Paso kind of influenced the brand?
I think there's a good influence because, believe it or not, people love spicy food.
Mhm.
And when I first started it, I wanted to make a delicious but hot salsa. And so, believe it or not, there's still a market in El Paso. I'd say 95% of my customers want the really spicy stuff. And so, I used to eat it, but it messes with my stomach. And so now we have mild iterations of our best selling products.
Mhm.
For example, the bestseller salsa verde, that one I have in a mild, and then the chile con queso I have mild, and it just goes like that. So you just tweak certain things.
So what is the shelf life on a jar of Salsas Guti? I'm just thinking to take some to my dad next time I go to Philly. Is
Yeah. So the shell life on it, according to the mason jar manufacturer, is up to 10
Oh, okay.
months. But yeah. And so, but I talked about all the factors that lead to, preserving the bottle itself.
Mhm.
Extreme temperatures, we seal it hermetically tight. So the moment they come in contact with oxygen, well, it's going to be shorter.
Mhm.
But generally speaking, you're good for up to 11 months. I mean, I'd go with the manufacturer.
Nice.
And those salsas that the pH level also has to do with it, um, could go on for even longer.
So when you were okay, so obviously the name of the brand Salsas Guti, Guti comes from Gutierrez, right? Did that just
Right.
kinda, like,
Right.
instantly come to you, or was that kind of like a thought process? Because I always kinda go through when I do brand consulting, really figure out what they want to represent with the brand, right? So
Yeah. I thought about a famous. He was a famous footballer in a Real Madrid, and his last name was Gutierrez, but he would go by Guti.
mm,
And so I thought about it. You don't want to add Salsas Gutierrez, because you see so many brand names that are different. And so I thought, Salsas Guti is a catchy phrase.
mhm.
You want something that, hey,
Yeah, short and
when your
punchy,
customers refer to it, like, hey,
easy
yeah,
to remember.
yeah, exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. So salsas, universal, and Guti is kind of catchy in my opinion.
Yeah.
So it's unique. And so that's what makes it interesting in my opinion.
So how important is community to you with regard to building your brand, right? Because I noticed you say we, right? And this is something I was taught
Yeah.
like as an entrepreneur. It's like even when it's just you, always refer to your business as we, because that's how you grow and scale.
Right.
But I know you have your family and kind of like a small team with you. Um, so how
Mhm.
important has community been in building your brand?
Well, I think community has been essential for the growth of the brand itself.
Mhm.
Um, and I believe so much in the product that at the beginning of the early stages, I would just hand it out. And so you're an entrepreneur, you know that there are costs associated with everything.
Mhm.
There's overhead and all these variables. Um, but I would just give it out, just like, here, try it. Like, friends that were bar owners and restaurant owners,
Mhm.
because I wanted them to, taste it for themselves. And that's how it grew. I mean, you wouldn't imagine how many free bottles, even to my own family, I would give out. And so, um, yeah, community is so important. And I used to use, so I know about, I'm a big techie, so I know about the influences of, social media. And so there's certain demographics that lean towards, certain social media accounts as opposed to others. But I capitalized primarily on Instagram. Now it's owned by Meta, and we also have a Meta account, a Facebook account. And I knew, because I've grown websites from nothing to something. So I was leveraging that, and I thought to myself, well, you run all these analysis and you're like, well, even if you pay Meta or Instagram, the results are different. Whereas you go to a locally owned marketing firm, and I used them, and they were the ones that really, put me on the map locally.
Mhm.
And so they've tried the products and they loved it. So
What would you tell to someone who is just starting out as an entrepreneur as far as, developing a brand that's, like, rooted in something personal to them?
what my advice to
Yeah.
them?
Just from having
First
taken
off, would
something that
probably
was, like, kinda, close to your culture and to you personally, it was something that you were doing, and, you said a
my
friend
my
told
my
you.
best
Yeah.
advice. Yeah, my best advice is always believe in yourself. Is probably up there.
Mhm.
The first one is make a marketable product, but also believe in your product.
Mm.
It'll have to go through a lot of trial and error. But once you perfect that product, then you'll have that. And I think beyond all those things, you have to believe in the customer. The customer is the one that ultimately
Mhm.
predicts where you're going to go as a business. I mean, I remember, he's a good case in point. Um, when, for whatever reason, you're making so many salsa, you're bound to have, certain things that don't come out, the way they should. So I would tell the customer, make sure to tell me if you didn't like it, because I'll replace it free
Mhm.
of charge. And yeah, after that philosophy, seeing the operations yourself, doing it yourself, you have to do that. Then the margin of error, decreases.
Let's talk more about the trial and error thing that you brought up, right? Because I feel like, and this is something I see a lot with like young photographers, is a lot of people kind of want to skip over that step, right? The learning curve, as you know, it would be in most cases. So, how did you personally get through your trial and error period of, were you testing out recipes and and ratios and things like that? How did you push through that?
Yeah, right. So that's a good question. You have to make it sometimes a million times for it to, you know, become the recipe that you want, that you envision for the company to capitalize on. And yeah, so there were many times where I'd make certain salsas, and I'm like, wait, this one, required more of this, and then there's organic ingredients and so forth. And so that's where even buying the peppers from certain stores had to do with the overall taste. So yeah, I mean, life is just a constant learning thing, So we never stop learning, and so the salsa is just like that. So, and I'm glad to talk about the numbers behind it. That kind of also I draw inspiration from. If you think about um, how popular salsa not only in the United States is, but around the world. For example, here in the United States, last time I checked it, the market alone was close to $1 billion. The worldwide market, and that includes salsas and hot sauces and so other things, but it was close to 3 billion in the fiscal year of 2024. What else? Yeah. Oh, right. So my buddy that went to Harvard Business School is always telling me about the guy that developed sriracha. I mean, literally, it was a home recipe like we were, and now it's $1 billion brand. And then you have people like everybody's familiar with Campbell's soup, and so they acquired Pace, and so it's a Tex-Mex chunky based salsa that I absolutely love, by the way, and I do have versions of that. After they bought it, I mean, it was $1 billion deal too. And then you have the guy from Mexico, Horacio Hernandez. He's the one that did the tahine. So the fruit people put on beer, alcohol,
I love tahine.
or primarily fruit.
Even though I'm allergic to it now.
Yeah. So again, that was another homemade recipe. And his mother was the one that did the little whatever chili and the lime, and it was an amalgamation of all that stuff. And so that's where it was born.
So,
excuse me.
Okay, so your day job, you work in education, you have the brand, right?
Right.
How do you balance all that? Because the other thing that I was kind of surprised by is that you deliver your orders, right? So you're driving around Old Paso, delivering orders, you're making all of the salsas. How do you go about balancing all of it?
I mean, you have to. There has to be a degree of thriving in complexity. I think there's an adrenaline rush associated with that. So not only do you have your 9 to 5 job, you're also passionate about, but you look forward to, even though you're tired, to making contact with your customer. Even there's a possibility that you will just deliver it or arrange delivery at their residence. But there's a possibility that you'll run into them and they'll have questions for you, and you really want to make them feel like they're somebody when they are. And so that's our guiding philosophy. In fact, that's why it's grown so much, because they tell a friend, and that's how it really grew.
What's the largest order you've gotten?
Let me see. Over 300 salsa. Was it 16-ounce mason jars?
Wow. Was it all one flavor, or was it a mix?
There was 2. Remember that those staples that you're talking about is the red salsa and the green salsa, and so they opted for the chile de árbol, and they opted for the bestseller salsa verde, which is funny that I call it salsa verde because the majority of the ingredients are green, but the bottle itself is brownish. So, yeah.
Do you know what that was for? Like such a large order? Or is it for like a massive party or like wedding favors?
It was a guy that wanted to have to give it out to his friends and family.
Wow.
So
Nice.
yeah.
So what does balance look like for you right now as far as, professional life, side I don't wanna call it a side hustle because it's a full-blown business. Professional life, your business, personal life, how do you make time for ish?
Yeah. I don't know if I try to find time for me because I'm working around the clock, and it's hilarious because I have friends and family that are dismissive about an enterprise this big,
Mm,
and one of my buddies who's retired law enforcement, he was high up in there. He said, "Oh, did you just put the ingredients in a blender and hit the button?" And I laughed because it's trivial to me,
mm,
that they have that perception of salsas as being something super easy.
yeah.
So I have to pick the ingredients. We work with several producers, and so I've gotten the seal of, or I've given them my seal of approval to get the stuff. Then we have to triple wash it and abide by strict packing methods, cooking methods, and so I stress that on the people that I hire. And I'm talking. I was having that conversation with you. Usually so they're seasonal, like the chile con queso is more popular during the winter.
Mhm.
And so, that's where I had to get some help. But the quality control, I firmly believe in. So
I think I may have asked you this in DM, but have you ever considered growing your own
yeah,
peppers?
I have grown my own peppers. They're a hassle because you have to water it, talk to it, and so forth. So no, I just don't. I just buy the stuff directly.
Yeah, when I
So
was back in Philly, I had a garden. This was prior to me knowing I have a pepper allergy, but I used to grow bell peppers, jalapenos, and long hots and cubanelles. So for me, growing peppers
mhm.
was the easiest thing. That my garden was
Yeah.
like flourishing with peppers, but like you said, it is constant maintenance, right? But
Yeah. So again, you want the customer to be
mm,
happy. I mean, I'm very methodical as to the process behind it, and so I don't know if I want to. You have to get the soil
yes,
right. I mean,
that's a whole other
make
science
sure
you would have to learn.
yeah. There's insects. There's so many
Mhm.
variables that I just don't want to deal with. And then you have to water it just the right
Yeah.
amount. And so sometimes you overdo it, and it does affect the taste,
Oh
believe it or
yeah.
not. So
Um, Speaking of that, so because you just said something that it's a bunch of other factors that you don't want to deal with, right? So you outsource, and this is
yeah,
something that I've been
right.
talking to a lot with my photographer friends, and eh,
Mhm.
was learning that a lot of the top photographers that I look up to, they outsource their editing, right? So it's like they just do the photo shoots, they outsource the part that they don't enjoy doing, right? So, and I think that's something that people can learn from this is that you don't have like if you're an entrepreneur, you don't have to do every step yourself, right? This is where you can have
Correct.
vendors
Correct.
and partners and stuff for um
And so that's funny that you mentioned the photography. Most of my content is I do it from my iPhone 13 camera, and it's an old phone, so the camera isn't the greatest
you
as a
do take
photographer.
really
So
good
you may know
pictures though.
the technical
So I will say
the
that
technical
your
aspect
food
of it.
photography is really good. Your staging with
Yeah,
the,
yeah.
ingredients and the lighting and stuff, you do a very good job for an amateur photographer.
So what I rely on is the customer base. Like
Mhm.
I can't stress it enough. Some people kind of understand it, others don't. I'm like, if you're like, they send me these private DMs of them enjoying the meal,
Mhm.
and again, without digressing, I think a salsa should be affordable for anyone.
Mhm.
And so I don't care what the photo looks like as long as you're sharing the product. Um, yeah. So the iPhone 13, because my mind jumps here from here. But yeah, so it's an iPhone 13. So what I do is I'll use some prompts to edit the images because I used to do Photoshop myself, and so I want the essence of the photo to remain the same. Maybe the lighting, there's certain colors and tweaks that you could make on your own. So
yeah, that's the thing about food photography is that you really don't want to over edit it, right? Because it needs to be authentic, right? It needs to be very representative of what you photograph. So it really just comes down to there was a picture you posted the other day, and it had I think it had like crackers around it, and then the light was coming in from the side. So I admire your food photography a lot. That's one area that I've never really been that great at. um,
right.
yeah.
Again, so there's many things or many sides to a salsa business, and one of the things is impulse buying. The customers are more likely to buy the product when they see something delicious in front of them. Heightened suggestibility. The government has that stuff, and so it applies to marketing. And so, when you see a commercial of your favorite drink or whatever, you're more like, hey, now. It gets me thinking. The salsas are no exception. I think that I have, on average, more sales when I share things that look delicious, and so
basically you show, I like how you show different ways it can be used with different meals. It doesn't have to just be in a bowl with some chips. It's like you could put it on, put it on some tacos, put it on, enchiladas, like
soup.
Put it in soup. Yeah. I would have never even thought of that.
And believe it or not, I feel that anytime a customer reaches out, like, hey, I have I have this meal plan for the weekend. I'm gonna make this, and that. What do you recommend? I'm like, all right, this is what I would recommend. And for carne asadas, the chile de árbol. For the barbacoa, you want the chile de árbol. For like the Super Bowl, you want the quesos, you want the salsa. For Taco Tuesday, you want all those salsas, because you're bound to try them. And so, yeah.
That's actually not a bad idea. For like a Super Bowl or a party, you just have all the flavors. Buy every flavor of Salsa Guti and put it out and have a salsa bar, and then have, people can make nachos or make tacos so I will have to.
And I've done that in a small scale with family, like for Christmas, where I showcase, most of the salsas, and then I take a photo of it, and it looks actually pretty good. But it's a salsa bar, essentially. Yeah.
I'm gonna take some of your salsas back with me next time I go to Philly, so we'll get you some
definitely
a fan base.
Just put it in the carry-on, and you should be put it in the carry-on.
Well,
I mean, you can.
It's got to go to check bag because it's over 3 ounces, right? So I just gotta pack it up real.
That's
good.
true. Yeah. Yeah, and I've shipped salsa. I mean, I have fraternity brothers that are Shriners that came over to El Paso, and they absolutely love the salsa. I mean, we got people in Canada and Louisiana, and they all wanted to ship over there. So I'm trying to explain to them, like, we're not at that stage yet where we've considered the avenues, we've looked at the pricing, but it just makes no economical sense for us at this point in the operation. So.
Yeah, tell them they got to get on a plane.
And I've even gone, right. And I even thought about just flying or renting a car and just, hand delivering all this stuff out there. But, of course, it's going to cost you more.
Truck.
Yeah, exactly. Like back in the day, the what is it, like helados and stuff, the one with the music would play in the parks, and everyone was hovering around it. So I'd do that with the salsas. And it was always like a 1980s
like an ice cream
truck.
You just like pull up outside the club with like with
And I've had customers, now that you mentioned the club, that have actually tried the salsa when they're drinking, and so their sober self wouldn't do that. And so I had one customer tell me, like, man, that thing sobered me up so quick. Well, if that works for you,
there you go.
Good for you.
That's how we make the streets safer here in El Paso, is Salsas Guti before
That's
people
right.
get on the roads. So what has starting this brand taught you about yourself?
What has it taught me about myself? Well, to believe in others. Yeah, where I still believe that we're, part of a big family. And so obviously just making that rapport with people, checking up on them here and there. And so that's the really nice part of it. Whereas you go to, these big brand names, you don't have that relationship, that friendship with your customer.
What is it about your product that you feel makes people so loyal to it? I mean, obviously it's good in the quality, but anything beyond that?
So it's homemade and it's consistent. They know the flavor they're going to get. If they order it twice, 3 times, or 100 times, they're going to be the same flavor.
Consistency,
And so that's the flavor they've come to. Yeah, consistency.
It definitely matters.
That's the flavor they come to learn. Yeah.
Cause you don't want to, if you buy one jar and you love it, and you get another jar and it's not the same, that is very important. I think that's a very important lesson for anybody starting a brand. Is consistency. I know for me as a service-based provider, I need to give my customers the same experience every time they book a shoot, right? It's like I can't give them like a really good experience on the first shoot and then kind of like treat them disposable after that. And I've had people come to me from other photographers, not here in El Paso. This was back before I got here, but because they weren't getting a consistent experience with a previous person that they were working with. So that's definitely a huge lesson there. So what is one takeaway you want? Not a takeaway. What is something you want people to feel or experience when they try Salsas Guti?
I think the whole, again, coming from a Hispanic family, the Christmas and Thanksgiving is it's almost a religious experience. And when you're gathered with your family, you're creating memories, and food's no different. And I believe that I create memories with my customers because they're either, having a drink or having dinner, and they're, making family time. So I really believe in that because some of my own customers have told me that.
Nice.
Or have confirmed that.
I like that.
Yeah.
So let's tell everyone where they can find you, how they can get some salsa.
Right. So we're primarily on Instagram and Meta, also known as Facebook. Meta is the parent company of all these, of WhatsApp and everything. But you place the order. Well, you inquire first, and then we send a menu, and you place the order, and we deliver. And the delivery, we've talked about it in DMs before, but they start off from Far East and they work their way down to the West.
What's the typical turnaround for an order?
24 hours.
Oh, wow.
I usually, I believe in having the product always readily available.
Awesome.
Sometimes less than 24 hours. Yeah.
So if you're listening out there, if you're watching, hit up Ish, get you some salsa for the holidays so you can make some memories with your family. Thank you for joining me, Ish. I look forward to
it's a pleasure. It really is.
Getting to try some salsa. Look, at the very least, I can just get a jar of the regular salsa and just take some Benadryl beforehand. Cause
I had a member of church that also was allergic to jalapenos, and I never suggested to make her like a custom order, but my philosophy is the customer. So whatever you want, you'll get, and so I could
let's do a limited edition.
Make a recipe for you.
Charbon Hallis.
Charbon.
Salsa.
I'll make it work.
Throw some pineapple in there because I am born in Hawaii, so I love me some pineapple sauce.
Yeah. Oh, were you?
Yes.
Awesome. That's one place I haven't been to. His family has, but I've never been to Hawaii, and I need to go.
There we go. Let's do it. Let's do a collab, a limited edition salsa.
Right. the Hawaii-based pineapple.
Yeah.
And there's some salsas that actually add alcohol to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, to the
Most
quesos.
Hawaiian
And
foods,
there's
the base
certain
flavors are going to be pineapple, and apple cider vinegar they use a lot. So
really
yeah.
awesome. But it's more healthy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So thank you, Ish. Thank you for everyone for listening and watching.
I appreciate you. Have a good one, all right?
Life doesn't always stay in perfect focus. There's magic in the blur we can't ignore. Every shadow, every highlight softly shows us who we are and who we're reaching for. When the world feels out of frame, every thought, every fear, every revelation,